Mark Fisher. I'm an applications engineer with Printastat, and you are watching Uncle Fish's CAD Tricks and Tips. Today's topic is Field to Finish Part 3. We're going to look at description keys. So just a quick refresher reviewer here. Last couple of videos have been talking about the field to finish process and how we go about splitting into the different needs and categories for the points. So there are at least three basic ones. There are probably other ones as you would define them, or your company would define them. But I tend to think of points being objects, line work, or surface related. And they're not necessarily independent of one another, but the objects are going to be things like inlet drains, manholes, gas caps, water caps, cleanouts, whatever you would consider a singular point defining an object, or a singular point defining even a more complex object. For example, an inlet drain might actually have 4 points associated with it, but you only take one in the field. Line work, of course, is going to be other things like swales, tops and toes, edge of curve, edge of pavement, sidewalks, etc., etc. And surface, obviously, is going to be the things that are going to be used to create a surface. So what we're going to look at today is the description keys. And what the description keys are going to do is they're going to marry the symbology, the styles, the codes that you use in the field, and the layers to automate your incoming files. So we'll bounce over here and take a look at a file I have. So just to take a look here, I'm in the settings tab. I'm going to go over to my points. I'm going to look at my point styles. And just a quick refresher reviewer, just so we know what we're looking at. In the benchmark, you can see that for the marker, I'm using an AutoCAD block symbol for the marker. And I have benchmark selected, I have it sized, and I'm oriented to whatever view I have. Everything I have is related to, or is going to be put on layer 0 or controlled by layer 0, and is by layer in color. If we take a look a little bit further, most of these other styles are, actually all of those other styles are set up the same way with the exception of the surface style. But if I go to the label style, now is where we change our thought process a little bit. So now I have an object-based style, and we'll go in here and take a look at how this looks. If I take a look at my layout tab, you can see that I have everything all together as one unit, and I have it all collected rather than being individual. The reason for that is so that I can control everything by layers. If I want to freeze or thaw or turn on or off a group of layers or a group of points, I only have to worry about what layer they're on anymore. For example, if I freeze my bench layer, everything goes away. If I want to turn on or off, it functions the same way. So let's take a look at the next part of things, and let's look at description keys. Description keys are pretty significant in the automation element of points, because they're what allows sort of the incoming points to have some kind of a filter or an automated element put to them. So let's go make some. So first I just have to make the container that it lives in. So we'll call that the fishnet. I'm going to use all caps just to be consistent with everything else. And you can see now that I have this little plus sign that appeared for my description keys. And here's my description keys. So to actually create the keys, I'm going to right click, go to edit keys, and this will bring up the panorama. This is where you need to know what your coding system is for your fieldwork. For example, if we take a look at that orange point that's on the screen, it's called a benchmark. So I'm going to use the exact language that I use in the field for my code, and I'm going to add an asterisk behind that. The reason I add an asterisk is so that if there is numeric values to your benchmarks, all of them will be collected under a bench or under that same benchmark. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to allow it to use a particular style, and I'm going to set that style to be benchmark for the point style. So that's what's going to give me my symbology. For the point label style, what I'm going to do is set that to be my object-based style. Click on OK. The format, I'm just going to leave that as alone for now. And last but not least, I'm going to set my layer. So all I have to do is add a checkbox in here, click in the square, and I'm going to park this on my benchmark layer. You can see what we got there. I'm going to click OK. And very important, once you have something set in here, make sure you click the green checkbox, because that is what will make the all of those settings kind of stick. So now, if I want to go test this out and I want to do points, create points, I'm going to do a manual point here just on the screen. I'm going to click right there. You can see on my command line, it's going to ask for what is your point description? Well, I'm going to call this bench. Elevation, we're just going to assign an elevation of 100. And you can see that everything came in correctly, came in on the correct layer, came in on with the correct symbol, etc., etc. So that's how I'm going to make things intelligent. Let's go take a look at another example. We'll do edit keys. And there's two ways to make this work at this point. And I have found that the easiest thing to do is to right click up here and do a copy of something and then go make your changes. So if I do this as BO for boundary, or I'm sorry, for bollard, now I'm going to change my point style to be bollard. I'm going to leave my label style alone. That's going to be my object based. And now I'm going to go over here to my layer, and I'm actually going to create one on the fly here. So I'm going to do new V bollard, and we'll make this some different color, kind of a bright color that'll show up on the screen. Okay. Continuous is fine for the layer itself. I'm okay with all of those, and I'm going to click OK. So I'm going to remember to click that green checkbox because that's where everything is going to come into play. So now I'm going to go up here to, I already have my points dialog box open, so I'm just going to go create another point. And this time I'm going to do enter a point description. All I did was click on the screen. So now I'm going to call this bollard1, so BO1. I'm going to hit enter, and let's call this 101.01 just for the sake of argument. And you can see that I have that bollard1 established. Why did this one not come over to the bollard layer? Well, that's because it was already in the drawing, meaning that it does not operate under description keys until you tell it to. So if I click on that and I right click and I go down here to apply description keys, what you'll see is that now it will bump to the correct layer. Let's go in and create a third one here. So I'm going to go into edit keys. I'm going to do, since I already have one established, I'm going to do a right click and do a copy. And let's slide this out of the way so I can see what some of my other ones are. And this time I'm going to do L. I'm going to add my asterisk. I'm going to pick my lamp or light or whatever that one's called, light. I'm still going to leave that as object based because I don't have to worry about controlling that. So again, I'm just going to go up here and check and make sure that works. So we'll call it L. Point elevation, let's do 105.00 just to be random. All right, so what did I do wrong? I didn't set my layer. Easy enough to fix. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to go into my edit keys. I'm going to change my layer, and we'll make that utilities electric. And I'm going to click my green checkbox, very, very important. And last but not least, I'm going to say right click, I'm going to highlight it, right click and go to apply description keys just to make sure that my lamps and lights all end up on the same one. So now again, the reason that I use these object styles is so that I can freeze those layers all at one time. I don't have to worry about the difference between my point number, my description key, or my elevation. I can use everything all at once. And the big thing that's different here, and let's go take a look at this one. I'll just show you what these properties are so you can see it. This is a surface point style. Expand this out just so we can see them a little bit more of the lettering there. And I have something called a point label called surface. So let's go take a look at what I have set differently. But before I go any further, wouldn't you agree that if I'm looking at, 2000 points on my screen, anything that's purple with an angle with that rectangular kind of oval thing looking around it catches your eye very quickly and very easily. That is part of how I can manage all of this stuff much, much quicker and easier. So I'm going to go back to my label styles and let's go take a look at what's different about that surface style. I'm going to go in here to edit, and I'm on the, if I start at the left, I'm on the surface. I called it surface. On my general tab, there's not much that I can really change there that's going to affect too much. However, on the layout tab, this is where some of the stuff is going to happen. I actually have it listed as point number, which is incorrect. So we're going to change that while we're here. We're going to call that elevation. And then for the elevation, we'll go in here just to show you what that looks like. That is very simply my point elevation. And even though it says point number up here, I was on my point elevation. Let's do a double one just so that it ends up twice on the screen. Click OK. Now you'll be able to see that, okay, that is indeed what the change is that I'm going to make. So I'm going to go back in and edit that just so there's only one. Apply. Now, the reason that I turned this at an angle, or the way how I turned it at an angle, is inside my text option. I flip this to 30 degrees so that it's got that angle to it. And I also put that rounded rectangular border around everything on my label style. So there's kind of a quick and easy way to work yourself through description keys. The good news is that once you have a description key set built, that is what you're probably going to use for most, if not all, of your jobs, depending on how your company is set up. If your company is set up that you are using only your own coding system and only your own layering system, there you go. You're once and done, and you're good to go. If you are using, or if you contract for other companies and you're using their coding systems, make sure that you ask for their description key sets, or more importantly, their template, because that might have all of the other information that you're looking for. So that's the basics of description keys. There's a lot more to them, but that's what we got for today. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope to see you next time.